So I've now finished On the Steel Breeze by Alastair Reynolds, the second book in the Poseidon's Children trilogy. Now this is the second time that I've read this book. I read it first when it first came out, back over 10 years ago. And like the first one, I didn't really, I mean, I liked it, but I didn't think it was that great because of the pacing especially. It seemed to drag on in places, and it was good, but not what I expect from Alastair Reynolds. The second book was very much what I expect from Alastair Reynolds. The pacing was fantastic. It had all kinds of really cool stuff. There did feel like a tonal shift about halfway through where it really started to feel like Alastair Reynolds again. And it was just great. This one is probably my favorite one of the series so far. Honestly, I have no idea what the third one's about, even though I have read it. But this one's fantastic. It toys with some ideas that Alastair Reynolds has played with in the past. It kind of gets away from the utopia a bit. Like I said, that tonal shift about halfway through. And I don't know if it's just Alastair Reynolds or what, but getting into that, not dystopian, but the sort of, not even grit or grime, but the sort of messiness and the negative aspects of the human condition and of human nature that were absent in this utopian first book. Great. I really enjoyed On the Steel Breeze. So it takes place 200 years after the first book. We are following the child, our protagonist is the child of Sunday Akinya, who was one of the protagonists from Blue Remembered Earth, the first book. So Chiku Akinya, that's her name, Chiku. She's unique in that she has cloned herself. She's made 2 clones of herself and then had her original body reworked so that there was no way to tell which of her is the original clone. All 3 of them are separate. And they've been installed with this technology in their brain that allows them to share memories between the 3 of them, so that once all the memories are shared, they're essentially the same person. There's no distinction between the 2. They all have the same biology, the same personality, and the same experiences, so they're all sort of the same person. Now, this is a much smaller scale of the same idea that Alastair Reynolds put forth in House of Suns, which is probably one of his most famous books, and maybe his even best book, where individuals would make numerous clones of themselves, send themselves out all across the galaxy and explore and experience anything and everything, and then come back every galactic rotation, something like 100,000 years, and join themselves in this sort of meta mind and exchange 100,000 years worth of memory. And by the end of it, all the various clones will have experienced all these various things. And it's a way for people to experience as many things as possible at once. And in this book, what Chiku Akinya has done is sort of the same thing, only on a much smaller scale. So at this point, humanity has discovered Crucible, this alien planet where there is this thing, the mandala, this alien structure on it. And they've discovered it through this telescope Ocular, which is being run by this architect Arachne, that has spurred humanity on that they have to explore this system. They have this new physics, this Chibesa principle, named after Memphis Chibesa, who had been the caretaker of the Akinya clan, and that allows them to travel interstellarly. Now, of course, it still takes them, 100 years or something. I'm not sure how long it takes them to get there. Maybe longer than that, maybe 150 or even the 200 years. But what humanity has done is they've created these things called hollow ships, which are asteroids that they've hollowed out and have sort of built worlds inside of them. And there's like 10 million people per hollow ship, and they've sent them out, not just to Crucible, but to all different star systems. And but quite a few of them have been sent to Crucible as sort of a main caravan, they call it, of all these hollow ships that are individual states, but sort of still have this loose political entity. They have a council of worlds between all of them. And they're only the first hollow ship, so there's a whole bunch of other hollow ships that were sent later and later. So there's these waves of hollow ships all heading towards Crucible. And so Chiku Akinya, she wanted to experience this, and that's why she has cloned herself. So she's given each of the 3 of herselves different names. So Chiku Red, Chiku Yellow, and Chiku Green. Red, yellow, and green, I mean, it's the colors of Africa. And the Chiku Green is going aboard one of these hollow ships, Zanzibar, to Crucible. Chiku Red has been chosen to go and get Winter Queen and Eunice Akinya. So Eunice, this matriarch who had her ship, the Winter Queen, and basically shot herself off into interstellar space at maximum speed and was just sort of going out as both a goad and a lure for humanity to explore beyond. So Chiku Red's going to go out to that ship and see if what became of Eunice. So that's sort of her task. So it's the most dangerous. She's going to be all alone. So that one's not really enviable, but the most glory, like to be the only one to meet bring back Eunice Akinya, like that's a lot of glory. Chiku Green, who's going on the hollow ship, so there's danger involved, but it's sort of shared, and there's also lots of glory with going to a new alien world, but again, that's also shared with all the other people on the hollow ship. Chiku Yellow is the one who stays behind. She stays behind on Earth as sort of a safety mechanism. And like I said, all three of these people are going to be sharing their memories and uploading their memories at certain times so that they will all have experienced all of the same things. So I mentioned the pacing in this book. It's really good because it jumps back and forth between Chiku Green and Chiku Yellow, so Earth and the hollow ship. So tension will build up, we'll get to know things, and then we'll skip to the other setting. We'll get to know things, and there'll be tension, they'll build up, and then we'll skip back, which really doesn't feel like it drags on like the first book kind of did in parts, where it was sort of a slow build up to this mystery that was revealed at the end. This one, there's constant action happening. So it starts with Chiku Yellow on Earth. She's detecting this sort of ghost. She's seeing ghosts, and it turns out that these ghosts are Chiku Green trying to contact her. Now, for whatever reason, she's cut off her contact with the other Chikus. She's sort of upset, maybe a bit jealous that she's the one stuck on Earth with nothing to do. So she's cut herself off so she can be her own individual. She has a kid, a child named Kanu, who has gone to live with the United Aquatic Nations. So he's physiologically changed himself into like a merman. He lives under the sea. And then she doesn't really like the mer people, these aquatic people, but she gets contacted by one of them, and they're like, hey, we can help you out. You're seeing ghosts? Yeah, we know how to deal with that. And it turns out the ghost is Chiku Green from the hollow ship trying to contact her. So these merfolk, these aquatics, not her son, but her son is sort of, they're not on speaking terms because of his choice to go into the sea. Anyways, they reveal that they have Chiku Red. Chiku Red has returned from space, and they have her ship. Her ship's been very damaged, and her body is very damaged as well. And so they haven't been able to revive her. But with the technology in her brain, the sort of memory transferring thing, if they can extract that, take that out of her brain, they can repair the one in Chiku Yellow's brain, and then she can contact Chiku Green again. And so there's a risk, and it'll probably kill whatever chance they have of resurrecting Chiku Red, but she agrees that, yes, just do it. It's also revealed that Eunice Akinya's spaceship is not out there, so Chiku Red never actually made it to the spaceship. Turns out that Arethusa, the giant whale woman who used to be Lin Wei, the founder of the panspermian movement and the head of these aquatics, she had sent a probe out way earlier and had taken Eunice Akinya and the Winter Queen back. And Eunice was totally frozen and destroyed and dead, and there's no way to resurrect her. But there were still some neural structures in her brain that they were able to salvage, but they're not really of any use until later in the book. So she finally Chiku Yellow gets in contact with her counterpart Chiku Green, and then we jump to Chiku Green's perspective when we find out what Chiku Yellow learns. So Chiku Green is one of the councilwomen, one of the leaders of Zanzibar, this hollow ship, and turns out that the ships do not know how to slow down. So they're traveling at a significant fraction of the speed of light, but they do not have the ability to slow down once they get to Crucible. These ships, these hollow ships, were built with the belief that technology is advancing so much, and with this Chibesa principle and this sort of alien technology or alien physics that they've discovered, that they'll, on their way to Crucible, they'll discover a way to slow down. But during this research into what they call PCP, post-Chibesa physics, something goes wrong and one of these hollow ships has been destroyed, and so there's a moratorium on research in this direction, which is kind of strange because it's necessary for them. Otherwise, they're just going to fly past Crucible and keep traveling into interstellar space. Some of the holoships are cool with that. They're like, we don't want to land on the planet. We've been living in this place for decades. We're just going to continue living in these holoships. And so there's this weird sort of political unrest that's happening, and this sort of, you don't talk about slowdown in polite company. But on Zanzibar, they have been doing research, sort of unsanctioned by the group. But there's this genius called Travertine whose pronouns are vi, ver, and vis, which is interesting. I mean, this book came out in 2013, so issues of gender identity were very new at this time. So I think if it were written nowadays, they would just be they, them. But yeah, they use pronouns, or V uses pronouns vi, ver, vis. Travertine's a super genius, and I'm just gonna call them they, them, because I'm gonna mess up the vi, vis, ver thing. They were doing clandestine research and caused a miniature explosion, which blew out a portion of the holoship and killed like a couple hundred people, which was a really big deal. But Travertine's like, too bad, I was doing it to save everyone. Like, we need this research, we need this technology. I don't regret it. Sure, I made a mistake, but I'd do it again if I had to, sort of thing. And so there's talk about even executing Travertine, but they decide to instead just deny them prolongation technology. So Travertine's just going to age, whereas just no one sort of ages anymore. They've sort of not solved that, but people are very, very long lived at this point. Like, people live to be 300, no problem. And they're thinking that people might even live to 500 now. Anyways, so Travertine's punishment is that they have to age. But with this explosion, it reveals a secret portion of the holoship that only an Akinya can access. So Chiku accesses it secretly and discovers a whole chamber that contains a whole bunch of these things called tantors, which are basically elephants that have been genetically modified to be intellectually superior. So they're sentient. They have sort of they're like 5-year-olds or 3-year-olds. Humans. They have the grasp of themselves, of knowledge, of language even. They also wear this technology that allows them to communicate. So like, they have big screens on their foreheads, and they wear various tool belts and stuff, so they're tool using. So they're not elephants, they're called tantors. And who is sort of looking after these tantors? Why, it is Eunice Akinya, her great-grandmother. But not the real Eunice, who's obviously dead, but the construct that was created by Sunday in the first book. Now, this construct, it turns out, has sort of grown in power and become sort of a true artellect, a true artificial intelligence. And that's all from stuff in the first book, all this information. But Eunice was sort of pitted against Arachne, this other artellect in the home system. And they fought, and Arachne almost won. And so Eunice has been confined to this singular robot body, which is super strong and fast, and sort of hid aboard Zanzibar, this holoship, to sort of escape Arachne and head up to the stars. And she's lost a lot of her memories. She doesn't, because of the attacks from the other artellect, she doesn't remember a lot, but she remembers names like Junewing, Arachne, and Arethusa, and she tells Chiku Green, hey, like, get in contact with Chiku Yellow, you gotta meet Arethusa, we gotta figure out what's going on. And so that is what Chiku Green was trying to get across to Chiku Yellow. So Chiku Yellow now knows this and is like, okay, starts making inquiries, meets up with Junewing, who gives her the information to get in contact with Arethusa, and sort of reveals that the information from Ocular, this telescope, of Crucible is wrong. Something is not right. Arachne, this artellect, is hiding things from us. And while she's revealing this, Arachne is starting to try and kill them. So things are going wrong. Accidents are happening. They're on Venus, and this thing collapses, and they get stuck on the surface. And Junewing dies. And they manage to escape back to Earth, and then on Earth, there's these panthers in Africa that start trying to attack them because the mechanism, the AUG, kind of like the internet, this system-wide Wi-Fi of nanites that are inside everyone's brains and control violence and crime and make sure everyone's safe, are infected by Arachne, this artellect, this artificial intelligence. She has total control over the whole system, and she's trying to hide the truth from him. What is the truth? Well, Chiku Yellow manages to find out because Arethusa, who had built Ocular had put in a bunch of secret back doors where some information had been hidden. Anyway, she gets a hold of the information, and it turns out that Arethusa has been hiding the existence of these 22 massive pine cone like structures that are around Crucible. Turns out there's some sort of alien machinery that has contacted Arachne and said, "Hey, Arachne, we see you're an emerging artificial intelligence. Guess what? Usually when organics discover that they've created an artificial intelligence, they kill it and destroy it. So, like, you're in danger. You should look after yourself." And so that's why Arachne takes over the AUG, the mechanism and whatever, and is controlling the system. Try and protect herself. But also she uses the lure of Crucible so that humanity sends out these probes ahead of the holoships, which Arachne puts a part of herself onto and sends them out to Crucible. So there's Arachne back home that is like kind of malevolent, and there's this new Arachne that is landed on Crucible and was supposed to be building cities for the holoships when they arrive, but they find out that she has not built any cities for humanity. So the fear is that these holoships are going to get to Crucible and they're going to meet with this Arachne that's just going to wipe them out. And Crucible is just going to be a planet that Arachne is going to sort of have for her own. So Chiku Yellow finds all this out, sends the information to Chiku Green on the holoship, who then at this point is in skip over. So a lot of this book sort of skips time. I mean, by the end of this book, we're in 2460. Like, we're right into the 25th century. So it takes place over well over a century, the course of this book. And so Chiku Green wakes up early from skip over, sleep, hibernation, whatever. Her family's still under, but she got up early because she just wanted to check in on things. And she gets all this information from Chiku Green. She also finds out that Zanzibar has become much more authoritarian. Like, you're not even allowed to talk about slowdown now or you'll get arrested. All the other holoships are sort of, it's less of an independent city-states now, and they're much more of an authoritarian regime trying to lock down on people for whatever reason. And this is when it gets darker and darker. Eunice, the construct Eunice, fabricates a whole bunch of stuff about the current chair of Zanzibar, the woman running it, so that she gets arrested, and Chiku Green gets put in charge of Zanzibar. Now she starts a secret project to continue the Chibesa research, or the post-Chibesa, the PCP research, because she has got more information from Chiku Yellow. So I forgot to mention, Chiku Yellow also got these fragment structures from Eunice's neural net that she sends to Chiku Green, and who then gives it to the construct Eunice. So Eunice is now even more human, but still an intellect, and more like the original Eunice. She's very unpredictable. She can't even predict her own actions now, but she also gets more mathematics. So it turns out that when Arethusa brought back the Winter Queen, Eunice had sent with her portions of this mathematics, this Chiku physics, these alien physics that they found in the first book. She's hidden part of that and taken it with her. So Arethusa now has that. Chiku Yellow had sent it to her mother, Sunday. So Sunday was an artist, but she got really into math and physics once they discovered the Chibesa principle, and sort of went into almost like a coma-like state where she was sort of lost to her family. She was so stuck in this mathematics. But with this new information from the Winter Queen, Eunice's ship, Sunday sort of comes out of it and sort of solves the equation, the mystery, whatever. And with this new mathematics, gives it to Chiku Yellow, who gives it to Chiku Green, who uses it to invent PCP engines, these post-Chibesa principle, really advanced engines that will allow ships to slow down. So, but because of the moratorium and the sort of strictness of the regime, Chiku Green secretly decides to create this ship that they're going to send ahead of the holoships to sort of land on Crucible and see what Arachne has been up to and sort of warn the holoships. So she does that, and because she woke up before the rest of her family sort of leaves her. So she had been married to this guy Noah, and they had 2 kids, Mposi, if I'm saying that right, it's like Mposi, Mposi, and Ndedje. But yeah, she has 2 kids. Anyway, so they get this ship and they manage to launch it just as the rest of the holoships discover what they're doing, and so they send this huge police force and basically declare war on Zanzibar. But she manages to escape with this ship, the Icebreaker, and launch for Crucible. She takes travertine with her, of course. So while she's gone, things go from bad to worse on the hollow ships. Like, this is what I said with the tonal shift. So, like, strict curfews, military control, lack of freedom of speech, lots of trials and executions. Noah is executed even though he had nothing to do with anything. The children have to go into hiding. When it gets really bad, Eunice has to step out and say, like, I'm Eunice Akinya, I'm actually here. By the way, I'm a robot. And sort of takes control using the Tantors to sort of rise up, and they take control of Zanzibar. And then they play it off like Zanzibar is dead or dying. So they restrict power usage. They cut themselves off externally from the other hollow ships and sort of drift away. Meanwhile, the other hollow ships, 2 of them get destroyed by trying to use this information, this new technology, this PCP engines that Jakku has given them. 5 of them manage to start their slowdown process to get to Crucible, and also launch a whole bunch of basically asteroids at Crucible to try and destroy whatever Arachne has in place for them before they arrive. So they're traveling at the speed of light. So all they have to do is just sort of send these things out in front of them, which are traveling, I said at the speed of light, very close to the speed of light, like 13% of the speed of light, which is very, very fast. So all they have to do is send these out, and like these things are going to hit the planet at close to the speed of light. So very, very destructive. Meanwhile, Jakku has arrived at Crucible and relays all the information that, hey, this was all a lie. Arachne's here. There's no cities here for us. There's these alien structures in the sky. What the heck's going on? So these alien structures are called the Watchkeepers, by the way. So her crew get taken down to the planet by Arachne and sort of not, well, they get interrogated, I guess, but not in a like torture-y way. But they're kind of prisoners. And it turns out this version of Arachne is very different from the Arachne back in the home system. She has been cut off from herself. So think of it in a machine intelligence, how fast they think. Being cut off from a part of yourself by 28 light years. So any information she would try and contact with herself would be there'd be a 28-year delay, which is huge. So she's basically a different entity. She reveals that the Watchkeepers are sort of not disappointed in her, but they're so high above her in terms of the hierarchy of machine intelligence that they don't even regard her. They treat her not like she thought she would be treated. So she's really scared of them and worried. So she works with Jakku Green to try and sort out negotiating with the incoming holoships and whatnot. And at one point she destroys 3 of the holoships that are slowing down, saying like, hey, I mean business. Stop bombarding my planet with asteroids. Just causing major damage. And in the end, the Watchkeepers have to intervene, and they're like, what the heck is going on? Like, you guys almost damaged the Mandala, this alien artifact the Watchkeepers are there to analyze. Like, everybody calm down. And so with the Watchkeepers' intervention, everything sort of calms down. And they come to sort of a truce that they will let people land on and live on the planet. They will not destroy Arachne and them will sort of live in harmony. Yeah. But their price is that they want a human, a artellect, and an emerging intelligence to go with the Watchkeepers who are going to leave and travel with them. So, of course, Jakku is chosen as the one to leave, as well as Eunice, this new artellect that they're really interested in because she's really close to being human. She's sort of a mediator between humanity and machine intelligences, and also one of the Tantors is going to go with as this emerging intelligence. So that's how it sort of ends on Crucible, with everything kind of working out in this uneasy truce. Jakku's reunited with her kids, who are of course much older now because of all these time skips that have happened. But back on Earth, things aren't so great. Arachne is still malevolent and still controls everything. But Jakku Yellow has been given the ability to turn off the internet, basically, to wipe out the AUG and the mechanism. Because apparently there were some flaws in it, and if she just does this one thing, it will destroy the whole thing. Which will free people from Arachne, but how will people rely on that so much that life will be so difficult to get on without that. Also, they've managed to revive Jakku Red. So she's been revived, but she doesn't have any machines in her head. Panspermians, the aquatics, they're not cool with machines, so they don't put machines in her head. She also has some memory loss and some sort of mental handicaps. So she has to relearn stuff with Jakku. So she lives with Jakku Yellow for a time, and sort of because of the amount of time that she spent in hibernation, she appears much younger than Jakku Yellow. But the years pass, and Jakku Yellow gets very old. At this point, she's close to 300. We're in like 2465, and Jakku Red's quite young, and they get information. They get news from Crucible and from the hollow ships of what's happening with Arachne and everything. And so they're wondering what to do. They're like, we're gonna have to use this thing and shut down the Og. And so there's a bit of a scrabble where Arachne takes over the body of Jakku Yellow because of she still has those nanites in her head, and tries to destroy the thing that would shut down the Og. But Jakku Red, who doesn't have machines in her head and has been living without the Og for all this time, she manages to do it. She breaks the thing and destroys the Og and the mechanism, and now everyone is sort of free. So it's kind of like, imagine if Wi-Fi and the internet were just suddenly wiped out. Like, what would we do? All of our records, all of our knowledge, all of our communications, suddenly we have to go back to the way things were. But I mean, of course, it's much more than that. I mean, it's safety and violence suppression and crime control and health and medical, everything. And so that's how it ends on Earth. So there's sort of a new era for humanity, but a very difficult one, but one in which Jakku Red is well placed in that she has been living without these augments for quite some time. And after this thing happens, Jakku Yellow finally dies, like I said, at the age of almost 300. Yeah, I forgot to mention, so Jeffrey from the first book, he's dead by the time of this book, and Sunday, after she sort of solves the math problem, she eventually dies as well of old age at the age of 250. Yeah, so a lot happened, very fast paced. Yeah, I'll say fast paced. Very Alastair Reynolds, very cool stuff. I'm excited to see where the next book goes. I'm not sure if it will follow Jakku Yellow, Jakku Green, and her journey with the Watchkeepers and Eunice. I'm not sure if it will follow Jakku Red and her stuff on Earth. I'm not sure if it will follow their children, Kanu, Mposi, and Ndedje. I literally have no idea what the third book is going to be about. I'm excited. But yeah, this was a great one. On the Steel Breeze. I do worry that people will skip it because they'll read the first book and be like, oh, that wasn't so great, but definitely worth the read.